merci.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please take your seats? Ladies and gentlemen, the program is about to begin. Would you please take your seats?
Check, check. Ladies and gentlemen, can we call this meeting to order? Per order of the Prime Minister, welcome to Tammany Hall. That's all right, we'll wait. Father Liam, how are you, sir? How are you? Father Liam's going to come up here and put some law and order into this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, may we have your attention, please? How about a nice round of applause for Bill Kennedy coming in the door? Hey, Billy, everybody gets a thank you card. How about a nice round of applause for Sean and Kara providing the music, huh? Let's hear it for them, please. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2022 Boston Irish Honors Gala. Give yourselves a nice round of applause. I don't know why that works, but it always does. So last year we called this the Forey Super Spreader event. It's good to see so many of you survived last year and ventured back into the Seaport. Once again, my name is Tom Tinlin. You know, I worked harder than Kanye West last year to get fired, and obviously that didn't work out, so we're going to see if we can double up our efforts. I want to welcome all of my friends from Dorchester back to South Boston. Yeah. We know this is rarefied air for you all, but, you know, nonetheless, welcome, welcome. We're happy that all your passports are up to snuff and that you made it. Would like to tell you who your city councilor is, but we have absolutely no idea. I see Erin Murphy is here. Maybe she can shed some light on that in the future for us. Let's hear it for the Forey family. This is the 12th year of this luncheon. We have a great program for you today, and as always, to kick things off, we're going to bring up somebody who has been a friend to this event from its very, very beginning. So let's have a warm welcome for the good Reverend Tom Kennedy.
Good afternoon. Glad to be here once again to celebrate this wonderful occasion and to honor three wonderful people. Before we begin, let us bow our heads in prayer. O God, Creator, Sustainer, Redeemer, the author of our salvation, We thank you for the gift of life, and especially this day. We thank you for having given us not tasks equal to our powers, but powers equal to our tasks, for strength, courage, faith, hope, and love, to lift up others less fortunate than ourselves so that they may come to know of your grace and love. We thank you for this gathering, especially for those individuals we honor today, John Cronin, Mary Swanton, and Jerry Rourke. As we recognize them for their accomplishments, may their lives of service and generosity inspire others to extend their reach beyond their grasp, that we all may live lives of service and generosity. Grant that by today's gathering we may be strengthened in our purpose and resolve to serve one another. We give thanks for those lives drawn from far-off shores, for our freedom to assemble, to speak freely, and the great responsibility to vote, a gift so precious we must never take it for granted. As you hold us to account for the use of all our powers and privileges, guide us in the election of our national, state, and local officials, that the rights of all may be protected and our nation enabled to fulfill its purpose. And we ask your blessing now on this food we are about to partake, on those who prepared it and serve it, and reminding us of those who go without and our commitment to feed them as well. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Once again, Reverend Tom Kennedy, everybody. We could do better than that. Come on. You could all be in work. That's better. My goodness. So we have a lot of movers and shakers from the Boston Irish community here. And isn't it great to be able to come together in a time of such divisiveness and discourse at the national level, and once again, Boston leads the way on coming together as friends, at least for an hour or two. So we have some very special guests in the room with us today. So I want them to give a little bit of a wave or shout or jump or do whatever it is that you need to do. This was the last list I was given. If they're not here, let's pretend they are. Our great Senator, Nick Collins. Oh, yeah, there he is in the back. I have no idea if he's really here. We have Representative Dan Hunt, Representative David Beal, again, our good City Councilwoman, Erin Murphy, Consul General of Ireland to Boston, and a good friend to this event, Lasha Moore, is here. Nice round of applause. We also have some past honorees who have been named as one of the Boston Irish honorees, and if you haven't gotten one of these things, then you're not trying hard enough, because this is a pretty substantial list. Not to say they're not all luminaries in their own right. First, we are very honored to have a gentleman who received one of these Boston Irish honors the first year. Our great senator, fresh off his appearance from Dancing with the Stars, if you saw the video, Ed Markey is here. Senator. Representing the Mulvoy family and one of the key people behind Boston Irish and the Dorchester Reporter, Tom Mulvey is here. Oh man, I just got a glimpse of myself. That is the biggest, shiniest head I have ever seen. I am so glad my son is not here. I would never hear the end of this. The family of our former great mayor, John Hines, is here, including Boston Irish Honors Committee member Barry Hines. A nice round of applause. The entire Brett family is here. Jim, Mary Ellen, Bill, Harry, and Margaret Brett Hastings. Let's hear it for them. The Garrity family is here, including Ann. The Hunt family, represented by Rep. Dan Hunt and Robin Hunt. The legendary Father Doc Conway is here. And our esteemed former U.S. Senator Paul Kirk, who is also a great friend of this event. Senator Kirk, thank you. Bob and Mary Scannell. You know, Bob, of course, runs the Boys and Girls Club in Dorchester here with Bill and Linda Forey. Margaret Stapleton is here with us, as are the Muse family, represented by Chris. Nice. Bar opened early. Way to go. Greg and Brendan Feeney. Bill, Anne Marie, and Nora Kennedy are here. And a special shout out in memory of our dear late friend Joe Corcoran, and Joe's son Michael is here. The first woman to lead the Boston Police Department as a commissioner, Kathy O'Toole, is with us today. And Mary Shagru, who is one of the past recipients just this last year. So can I ask them all to stand to be recognized, please? If I said your name, if you think I said your name, if you wish I said your name, or don't stand, that's okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Somebody follows instructions. Where'd Reverend Tom Kennedy go? Man, I bet you Sam wishes he had this all-star lineup, huh? Last year, what do you think? So I would like to invite the founder of this event and one of last year's honorees to join me and introduce our first speaker. Please welcome the visionary who first thought about how special and appropriate it is to honor some of our great Bostonians of Irish heritage. The reporter and Boston Irish founder, ladies and gentlemen, Ed Forey.
Thank you, Tommy. Those are just the honorees that are here. We've had 39 of them over the years between individuals and families. Every year but one since 2010, the Boston Irish Honors Luncheon has been an occasion to celebrate our shared Irish heritage by telling the stories of Irish Bostonian men and women and their families, past and present, who have excelled and inspired us with their exemplary personal and professional achievements, their generous spirit, their wisdom, and their wit. Over these last dozen years, some of Irish America's best known and beloved people here in Boston and their families have graced this Seaport stage in front of this audience. And as he remarked several years ago, the great honoree, Senator Paul Kirk, referred to this event as the Boston Irish Hall of Honors. Not a Hall of Fame, Hall of Honors, and that's what we're here for. This year's cohort of honorees continues that proud tradition with John Cronin, Mary Swanton, and Jerry York. And they have distinguished themselves in their lives and careers and causes, each in their own distinctive way. But the common denominator, as it has been for almost 40 Boston Irish families and individuals we have highlighted over these years, is not just their roots in Ireland. It's the way these special people remain connected to those roots and honored their forebears by exhibiting compassion, respect, and generosity to people of all backgrounds who have followed their lead in carving out a life in a new land. Boston has always been a city of immigrants. We Irish are central to that story, of course, and we hope that in telling our stories today, we might propel and inspire our fellow Bostonians, no matter their place of birth or station in life. We want to inspire them. After all, we are all immigrants, all children or grandchildren of ancestors who took that great leap to establish their homes in this, the most Irish of American cities, Boston, in this, the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. So we are grateful for the leadership of our event chairman. I am grateful for the leadership of our event chairman, the indefatigable, that's a hard word to say, Joe Nolan. I defy him to use that word when it comes up, whose enthusiasm, energy, kindness, and connections have conspired to make this 2022 luncheon the most successful on record. Joe is the CEO of Eversource Energy, which is the presenting sponsor of today's event. Joe, thank you for your leadership and friendship, and thanks to all of our sponsors who have made this event so successful. May I add a word of gratitude to Tommy Tidlin? There you are. He's our dear friend from South Boston, and he serves today as today's MC. A near-fatal brain aneurysm in 2016 took Tommy, and he's a fierce advocate in the fight to bring awareness and funds to the cause of detecting the threat of aneurysms in Massachusetts and worldwide. Tommy, I salute you and support you in your work. And by the way, both Tom and Joe themselves are charter members of the Boston Irish Hall of Honors. So great thanks to all of you who are here to support this event. You're all very welcome. We are so pleased to be back together in this ballroom to enjoy each other's company. So let me simply say this to everyone, Sláinte. And let me bring up Joe Nolan. Well done.
Thank you. Good afternoon. What a great day here in Boston. It's an event I look forward to every year. The recipients are extraordinary. Not that I had anything to do with picking them, but they are quite extraordinary. And I like to see that Coach York has assembled some of the great hockey players. I'm pleased to report that I have assembled a couple of the greats. I've got Neil Shea and Bob Sweeney with me. You know, it's interesting. I was the RA at Boston College. I just had a chance to see Senator Markey. And I think what's interesting is Senator Markey used to be the one that would turn the lights on at Babs Library in the morning and put them off at night. And then when he left, we were able to get Neil Shea and Bobby Sweeney. They took over that job at Babs Library. So I was just so thrilled for that. You know, Coach York, it was too bad that you didn't get to BC a little bit earlier because this has been a cross that I've had for over 40 years with these two right here. But I'm pleased to report that in honor of today, we're going to take both their ankle bracelets off, and we're going to free them to society because of, you know, this is the one day Coach York is getting honored, so that's what I plan to do here today. So, listen, thank you, everybody. You know, on behalf of the host committee, my deepest thanks to everyone for participating in the 12th annual Boston Irish Luncheon. I always tell my family, this is the paper of record. To my 4 daughters and my wife, this is the paper of record, and this is all that we operate with in the mean streets of Belmont. You know, you look at every year this great honor pays tribute to some of the most amazing folks, and obviously I've mentioned Senator Markey, obviously Secretary Walsh, you know, and the titans of industry, the Feeney brothers, who are just fantastic. So those are the great legends that we've honored, and then last year they got a little desperate and they decided to put me into the mix. We've also had the great Mary Shagru, Jim and Mary Judge, who are dear friends as well. And I don't know that I was so deserving, but today we're recognizing some amazing individuals. We got John Cronin, the president and CEO of the Cronin Development Group. John's a builder and a restaurant owner, and he's been very, very good to the neighborhoods in the area here. Mary Swanton, the director of the Irish Pastoral Center, a native of Limerick. Mary is well known in Boston Irish community and has many years of experience in fine arts and community development. And lastly, a man that we all cheer for, the great Jerry York, the head coach of the BC Eagles and a 4-time national champion out of Chestnut Hill. So I'm just thrilled for that. You know, by attending today's luncheon, we're also supporting Boston Irish that celebrate the news and the heritage of the community. The funds raised through this event help them continue their tradition of local quality reporting. You know, once again, this tribute to Ed Forey and the Forey family, whose dedication and high standards have enriched our community. Thank you for your commitment. Today's lunch is going to be delicious, and I won't stand in the way of it any longer. At this time, I encourage everyone to start digging in, and we're going to begin the honors program in 30 minutes. Enjoy your lunch and some fine Irish music to go with it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, geez, that's actually pretty good. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying your lunch. My grandmother would be very impressed. Oh, sirloin for lunch, huh? Geez, a little highbrow, aren't we? I could picture her now. The lace curtain Irish. What you have, 2 bathrooms? And oh my gosh. Hey, I do want to, our pal Joe Nolan. A nice round of applause for Joe, huh? Joey pots and pans. He comes up here, he does his thing, and then he runs away. And I think we all know what a special guy Joe is. He's the type of guy that shows up, does the right thing, day in, day out, when nobody else is watching. And he would never tell you about it. Joe, we're all blessed to call you a friend. So a couple of housekeeping matters, then we're going to have a little bit of a musical break while you have your coffee and your dessert. We hope everybody has already dropped off a business card in the box today. We're going to have a raffle. If you didn't, please do so, because we're going to be sending two different winners this year from this room to Ireland on either Delta or Aer Lingus today. Well, not today. You don't have to go today. So it's not like we're going to tell you to get over to Logan Airport. Well, that is unless, you really have to get away. Like, say you Jeff Deal at 8:01 p.m. on November 8th, and you're really just looking to get out of town. But no, I'm only kidding. It's going to be neck and neck. But we will be pulling the names out, and you need to be here. So just hang around for that and get your chances. And now, once again, let's give it up for Sean and Kira, who's going to entertain us for a little bit, okay?
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Sean and Kara one last time. Come on, we can do better than that. So we do have a couple of other folks in the room that we would like to acknowledge. The president and executive director of the Boston Bruins Foundation, Bob Sweeney, is here. Thank you, Bob. Come on, give it up. Representative Paul McMurtry is here. Let's hear it for the representative, please. And a fellow past award recipient, the great president of Boston College High School, Grace Cotter Regan, is here. And Grace actually has brought with her members of the BC High hockey team, so we welcome them as well. You got to see them. They're all dressed up. It's beautiful. Did you put your ticket in for the airplane tickets? Huh? I used everyone else's business cards. Also, let's welcome our good friend, the district city councilor from Dorchester, at least as of today. Frank Baker is here. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge somebody who unfortunately is not with us today, but my MC predecessor, Dick Flavin, is a little under the weather, but let's acknowledge Dick for all of his past great work from the very beginning of this. To be honest, I mean, my knees were knocking so hard last night, I just assumed Dick didn't want to come because he knew I'd beg him to take over. And I know this is going to be hard to believe, but we're actually going to bring up another 4-y. I know what you're saying. You can't throw a dead cat in this room without hitting a 4-y. But we're going to ask Maureen 4-y Sorrell, Ed's daughter, who also toils at Boston Irish and has just recently returned home from the old country, to come on up and give us some remarks and introduce the video.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And as Tom said, yes, I am another 4-y. I consider myself the quiet 4-y, but I know that's not saying much. So anyway, I wanted to start by thanking you all for being here today. Your support and your enthusiasm is what allows us to continue to tell the stories of Boston's Irish community. Secondly, I would like to acknowledge my dad, Ed 4-y. You might know him. My dad and my mom, Mary Casey 4-y, began publishing the Boston Irish Reporter back in the early 1990s. But before that, they started publishing the Dorchester Reporter back in the 1980s. And one of my favorite stories to tell when I want to embarrass my dad is I like to talk about how they started on a shoestring budget. And they needed a place to set up their home office. So they booted me out of my childhood bedroom at about 6 years old and made it their office space. But it worked out because I got the larger bedroom at the back of the house. So no hard feelings, Dad. So one thing I find so fulfilling about this event every year is the way it connects us here in Boston back to the country of Ireland. My brother, Bill, who you might also know, and I would make the trip overseas with our parents when we were younger. We met and formed relationships with aunts, with uncles, cousins, and we've been so fortunate to cultivate and maintain those relationships over the years. A little bit of a segue here. Van Morrison is one of my absolute favorite musical artists. His music has always held a very special place in my life and has woven its way through many of my life's most important events. There is a song that was recorded by Van Morrison and the Chieftains, you might know it, called The Irish Heartbeat. And the lyrics of that song go, "Oh, won't you stay a while with your own ones. Don't ever stray so far from your own ones." So recently, my husband Aaron and I had the opportunity to take our 2 children, Nate and Leanna, to Ireland on a 10-day trip with some help from our friends at Tourism Ireland, which I will be showing a little clip from Tourism Ireland at the end of my talk here. So during this trip earlier this month, we watched as our kids walked on roads at the County Mayo Farm where my grandfather grew up. There they are, my little wildlings right there. And that's my grandfather's farm. And it's still owned and operated by family members. And I'm told that it's relatively unchanged since he was a young child. I think the only thing that's really changed is they tell me that his primary school is now a boxing club, which actually kind of, that fits. So what was striking to me is the idea that we continue to lay that foundation for the next generation, that my children, our children, will now have that connection to family and to the country, that they will now be staying a while with their own ones. And that connection to the past and to the future is what we at Boston Irish strive to celebrate both through our publication and through this very event. So, having said all that, I would like to show you a short video from our friends at Tourism Ireland.
That can be you later on today. Get your card in the for the airline tickets. Right off to Ireland. Take your hostage. So, would like to welcome up to the stage a good Galway girl, and she's also a volunteer board member of the Irish Pastoral Center. Please, a nice warm welcome for Della Costello for a presentation. As people receive their awards, would like to just tell family and friends, we know you're going to be excited. When they come off the stage, there's going to be some pictures taken, but we would ask the family and friends wait until after the event. They're going to set something nice up over on the corner. Take as many pictures as you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Good afternoon. I live in a three-decker in St. Mark's Parish in Dorchester. And for many years, I was blessed to have Father Dan Finn as my pastor. Father Dan was a founding member of the Irish Pastoral Centre. Some years ago, I got involved in the centre and I was amazed at the outreach to the Irish community. Somehow I ended up on the board, and it is something that I love doing. From her days working with the local Irish newspaper, The Irish Immigrant, Mary Swanton was well known in the broad Irish community. In her role there, she was always helping to promote Irish cultural and social events, getting the word out to the Irish all around Boston. I knew Mary when she taught music to the children in the Pope John Paul schools across Dorchester. To see the little children playing the violin and tin whistles was truly something. It was wonderful to see her bringing diverse groups of children to perform at different functions year-round, especially around St. Patrick's Day. Then I would see Mary at Green Hills, that great gathering place in Adams Corner. We became friends, and when the Pastoral Centre was looking for an executive director, Mary's name sprang to mind. Since becoming our executive director just a couple of years ago, Mary has added so many outreach programs, of which I'm sure she will talk about. Nothing seems to be above and beyond for her and her staff. Just a couple of examples. 2 weeks ago, there was a terrible tragedy in Donegal when 10 people died in an explosion. 2 days later, Mary organized a Mass in St. Brendan's in solidarity with the people of Donegal, and the church was filled to capacity. Earlier this year, a little 3-year-old boy from Northern Ireland needed special treatment at a local hospital here. Again, Mary and her staff went into action. They provided a place to stay and a car for the family for a month, and how great it was to see that little boy improve. Mary asked me to start a knitting group, and I must say that our bumblebee stitchers are growing, and we are putting on a craft Christmas fair in December. We even have two 90-year-olds who just joined. On top of all the good works, Mary has created a warm welcome to all who come to the centre. She truly deserves this honour today, and it is my honour to introduce my friend Mary Swanton.
Adini Ushla, agus a córdia Ilav Galer. Distinguished guests, colleagues and friends, thank you, Della, for your kind introduction. I extend my congratulations to my fellow honorees, John Cronin and Jerry York. I am honoured to share the stage with you both today. I am very proud to call Boston my home. It is endearing to live here, to have met my husband Albert, a union carpenter from Skibbereen here, where we have raised our fine young men. Sean, a veteran of the Marine Corps, Kevin, a Division I rugby player in Pennsylvania, studying business and finance, and Michael, here with his very sweet girlfriend Maura, is a production assistant on Liam Neeson's new movie, Thug. Sean is married to our lovely North Shore Italian daughter-in-law, Sonia. They have a charming restaurant in Lynn. Yes, it's an Italian restaurant, and it's called Ciao. I have to give the plug. If you're in the area, it's at 41 Sutton Street. And they won Best Meatballs at St. Anthony's Festival in the North End. My thanks to our nephew Liam Swanton, our great friends Mary, Janice and Jen, the amazing team at the Pastoral Centre, and to all of you for your presence here today. My mother, Teresa Turrell, grew up in Annadown, County Galway, in a classic quiet man thatched cottage, which exposed us city kids to country living. My father, John Delaney, was a tour driver from Limerick. Dad had a fabulous tenor singing voice that our Michael has inherited. Dad's tours introduced us to America. And at my very young age of 7, two things stuck out. One American told me that he lived in a 3-decker. I had no idea what he was talking about. And many of the Americans had come home, even though they didn't live in Ireland. Well, I moved to South Boston in 1987, and I was surrounded by 3-deckers. I was amazed and in awe of what all of you took for granted. I understood quickly, once I lived here, why so many Americans called Ireland home. In this land of many cultures, Ireland is the root for millions. Our heritage will always bring us home to Ireland, no matter the passing number of years or generations. How fortunate am I to be standing here today representing the oldest Irish community centre in Boston, part of a strong network of Irish organisations who celebrate and promote this gift of heritage in Boston always. Our shared love of Ireland motivates me every day, along with the legacy of those who have come before us, who built a great reputation. The Pastoral Centre first opened its doors in St. Mark's Church in 1987 to provide support for young immigrants with assistance from the Boston Archdiocese, when Sister Veronica Dobson and Father Dan Finn lit a lamp to welcome the stranger among us. In many ways, we are a parish without boundaries. It is most important at this time for me to acknowledge our friend and founder, Father Dan Finn, who recently celebrated his 50th anniversary to the priesthood. Congratulations, Father Dan. I work with an almighty team, great people. Together, we have broadened our reach and expanded our services. With your support, we now host 4 senior clubs a week in Brighton, Dorchester, Weymouth, and West Roxbury. We have a comprehensive immigration support program with legal clinics. We have 2 clinical social workers on staff for individual appointments. We have a weekly mother and toddler program, a monthly magazine, Irish conversation evenings, a supper club, a cards club, a knitting club, run by herself, the Queen over here, a Senior Connect phone call service, a food care package program, and 2 weekly sobriety groups that we call Lakela, which simply means together. And we have a new home. I wholeheartedly thank everyone who gave their time, talents, and financial support to open our brand new space. We had an open, empty room, and it is now a warm and inviting space for our community, and we are very grateful to everyone who gave us a hand. As we look to the future, we must go forward regardless of immigration's ebb and flow. We must be flexible in our responses to current and changing needs in our community with support, friendship, and advocacy. Above all, we must honour and preserve the continued presence of Ireland in Boston. I must at this time express my gratitude to our Consul General Leisha Moore, Vice Consul Shane Caffrey, and the team at the Irish Consulate, who have continuously provided generous support for the Pastoral Centre through the Government of Ireland's Immigrant Support Programme, along with guidance from Ireland's Global Diaspora Strategy. Thank you, Consul General Leisha and Shane. To all of the staff at the Centre, I extend my thanks for your almighty efforts. I am so proud to work with each of you. Your kindness and perseverance is exemplary, and I'm accepting this award for all of us. That's the staff. Can you guys stand up for an applause? Stand up, guys. We have a great team. I truly appreciate our board of directors led by our chairperson, Mary Ellen Brett, each of whom bring exceptional knowledge and wisdom for the betterment of the centre. I must express my gratitude in particular to board member Neil Hurley, who mentored me as I began my role as director and gave me a lot of confidence. So thank you, Neil, very much. Throughout my 35 years in Boston, what I love most are the people that Albert and I have met along the way, who have impressed us, enlightened us, and inspired us. I thank all of you for being a huge part of our village. I express my gratitude and sincere appreciation to Ed Forey, to the Boston Irish Reporter, to Della, the selection committee, and our Pastoral Centre team. I have to say thank you to Albert and my boys for supporting me always. This very proud Boston Irish lady from Limerick is most appreciative. Gurav Mila Mahagwiv Golair.
One more time for Mary Swan, everybody, huh? Wasn't that nice? Wow. So with they having their pictures taken off the side, we do want to bring up our next presenter. But first, I do want to acknowledge our former great state senator is here, Linda Docina Forey. How about a nice round of applause for Linda? And I've really I've pumped this guy's tires enough for one day, so we're just going to bring him up. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Nolan.
Thank you, Thomas.
You're welcome, Joseph.
Pleased to report that we've signed Tom Tinlin to a 5-year contract. We were able to get him. We were able to meet his demands. There were significant demands. So let's give it up for Tommy Tinlin. I also would be remiss if I did not recognize Dusty Rhodes and Rachel Patton for putting this event on. We did upgrade. Some of you might have been here last year when my fresh announcer, Jack Connors, gave the business over the centerpieces, thinking they came from the dollar store and the chicken. So you might look at your centerpieces now and look at that steak dinner that you had, and we did upgrade. But I want to thank Rachel and Dusty for this extraordinary event. A lot of work goes into it, obviously under the direction of the great Ed Forey. So it's wonderful. Listen, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to present the next award to a fellow that I think the world of. Unfortunately, he called me this morning, and he had a family emergency, so he cannot come. But our next recipient is John Cronin. And John is the CEO of the Cronin Development Group. And he's just an amazing individual that has done so many things in this community for decades. And, you know, just as John is, he's a very quiet sort of a guy. I was tucked a note today, and the note was basically what's really important to John. There were two things. There was a note of what's really important organizations. So I want to recognize those first because they're top of mind with him. South Boston Neighborhood House, the Ron Burton Training Village, the Dodo Knee South Boston Collaborative Center, the Gavin Foundation, and Street to Ivy. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was all of the nice things that he was going to say about me here in this speech. So I think that, you know, we'll probably get to that when I get through my remarks, and I've talked to Dusty about bringing in dinner as well for all of you. But let's talk a little bit about John. John is humbly quiet and supports many, many charities he has for decades. In the classic Irish tradition, John raised himself by his bootstraps. He first came to Boston to meet his sister, who was traveling here from Australia in 1980, and he never left. We don't know what happened to the sister, but she kept moving on, and John stayed here and finished his engineering degree at UMass, and worked as an engineer on a major piece of the Boston Harbor cleanup. In his spare time, he also tended bar in a renovated three-decker in South Boston. He then sold the three-decker and bought a bucket of blood on Broadway and converted it to a very successful Boston beer garden. That started him on his way to becoming a successful restaurant owner with more than 20 restaurants and 2,500 employees, including a Nolan favorite, Temescal, right across the street here in the Seaport. Remember that three-decker John renovated? Well, that started him on a path to another highly successful business. John Cronin and the Cronin Development have been leading force in the Boston development community for 20 years. John has built truly beautiful buildings like the St. Regis right across the street here, the Gate of Heaven Homes in South Boston, and the spectacular Armory building in Bunker Hill in Charlestown. John delivered amazing senior housing in South Boston next to the Mary Ellen McCormick Housing Project. They've been able to move elderly residents out of 2- and 3-bedroom units, opening these up for families while moving older citizens into beautiful new units. And they receive the care that they need without transportation to appointments. Just like the restaurant business, all the building work means thousands of jobs for the people right here in Massachusetts. 2 years ago, John bought Boston Ship Repair and Philadelphia Ship Repair. This is a brave move that, when successful, will create thousands of jobs and save the important ship repair industry at Dry Dock 3 here in Boston, again, right down the street. Unfortunately for John, Boston is a small town with a lot of informants, and nothing stays a secret for very long. Not even the good stuff, and I'm here today to blow his cover. The cat is officially out of the bag. By the way, I have to say it was one of the worst-kept secrets of all time. The mere mention of John Cronin's name elicits statements like, he's the nicest guy in the world, or John has over-delivered on every promise he has made. His team refers to John as himself, or behind his back, they refer to him as St. John, kind of like my team. I'm sure that they do that at Eversource. I'm sure that all 9,300 employees do that. And certainly our customers are so thrilled with energy prices where they are. I mean, I know that's not top of mind. You know, I had Jim Judge call me last week, a recipient from 2 years ago, to complain about his electric bill. So I said, we're going to take a GoFundMe page up. Maybe we could have a little collection afterwards. So, listen, I want to bring up Michael Knievy, who's here to accept the award on behalf of John Cronin. Thank you. Suck the gut in, Michael. Suck the gut in. I'll hold it.
That was the speech of the day, Michael. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Knievy.
So obviously signals got crossed there. I do have his remarks. I had his remarks anyways. On behalf of, see, I thought he was going to do this.
Talk about myself?
So if you didn't hear Joe say that I'm standing in for John Cronin, I heard the murmurs. It's like, wow, John Cronin got old. Holy, what happened to him? That development business is tough. But so initially I was supposed to give John's remarks, and I'll do that now. So on behalf of John Cronin, he wants to start by saying, congratulations to the other Boston Irish Honors recipient, Mary Swanton and Coach York. Congratulations to you both. Thank you, Joe Nolan. There is a line from a Chesterton poem that reminds me of Joe. The great Gaels of Ireland, the men that God made, were mad, for all their wars are merry and all their songs are sad. Joe Nolan is a great Gael, a merry warrior, a wonderful friend, and a great American, and he is quite mad. Joe's like the Marine Corps, no greater friend, no worse enemy. I can think of no better friend and nobody more capable of keeping the lights on and our families warm in the winter than Joe. He is a man on a mission. So the lights are warm. The lights and the warmth are only part of what Joe and his company does. They also offer quiet support to a multitude of people and nonprofits across the region. As I stand before you today on behalf of John Cronin and gratefully accept this Boston Irish honor, that's who I am thinking about, the people who have made it their life's work to help others. I think of Kathy Lafferty, who runs the South Boston Neighborhood House, AKA the Ollie. The Ollie has various kids programs, a senior program, a daycare, and a whole lot more. But last year, Kathy became aware that some moms in the South Boston community, many living in public housing, weren't able to afford diapers and wipes for their babies, the most basic of needs unmet. Kathy and her colleagues came up with the idea of the Diaper Depot, basically a giant shipping container filled with diapers and wipes for those who needed them, free of charge. As Kathy saw a need and brought solutions, so does Paul Burton through the Ron Burton Training Village, where thousands of kids from the city spend life-changing time in the summer at a camp in Hubbardston, Mass, focus on athletics and scholastics. Paul's longitudinal studies suggest that the camp, named after his dad, Ron Burton, absolutely changes the arc of the lives of the kids that they serve. Changing the arc of lives makes me think of John McGann and the Gavin Foundation in Eileen's House, which is an all-women's alcohol and drug abuse residential treatment facility in Dorchester. Not so long ago, women suffering from addiction would be sent to Framingham Prison for treatment. While that doesn't happen anymore, seeking treatment, addiction treatment, is still much more difficult for a woman. John McGann has been trying to open a women's facility for years, and that dream was realized a few months ago with the brand new, shiny, and welcoming Eileen's House opened its doors in Dorchester. The women that John's folks take care of there will get better, and their families will get better. And in John's work, and Paul's work, and Kathy's work, we all, our collective, gets better. Growing up in Ireland, I came to know how important it is to be a helper and to help the helpers. I learned it at my kitchen table and from my friends and neighbors, just like you all did. But one thing that those lessons couldn't underscore enough was the amazing feeling that I got when I'm in the presence of the Kathys and the Pauls and the Johns of the world. I have a wonderful life, and whether you want to attribute it to faith or destiny or the hand of God, I am the fortunate one to regularly find myself in the company of so many people who put others before themselves, and I am awed by the life-changing work that they do on a daily basis. And in this room of helpers, I am honored beyond words. Thank you for John Cronin.
I got to tell you, the Old Point Tavern, Joe Nolan, wasn't that bad. The Bucket of Blood it was the only bar in Southie where you had to wipe your feet on the way out. Right? You're not bringing that out here on a Broadway. You know, obviously, nobody knows us better than family. And it is further true, in my humble opinion, that brothers have a very unique, strong, loyal relationship. And it is fitting that our next speaker is here to introduce his brother, for he has known him, the presenter's, entire life from their shared home in Watertown. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the much, much younger brother to Coach. He wrote it. I'm just saying the words. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill York.
I'll steal your speech. Thanks so much. First thing I want to say is I've heard Blarney. We're from Watertown. I went to school at the great BC High. Got to know all my friends from Dorchester, Southie, many of whom are my closest friends. But I never really understood the definition of Blarney until I heard Joe Nolan today, and I said, boy, that guy is full of Blarney. But God bless. It's truly a pleasure to be here today in this great Boston Day in the city of Boston, which we're all blessed by. And I was so blessed when Jerry went away and he and Bobby and Laura and Brendan came back to Boston 28, 30 years ago and came back to our beloved Boston College. I want to shout out to a few folks today, Jerry's friends that are here and have gathered today, the contingent from BC High, the contingent from Boston College, and all of his wonderful friends. But more importantly, I also want to recognize Bobby and Laura, his fabulous wife and daughter, who is such an important part of their life and my life. You know, I understand the format. I spoke to Ed Forey. I've listened to Pots and Pans over here. But I have to say, they say it's a bit of a roast. But to be honest with you, to try to roast my brother Jerry would be slaughtering lambs. And I just can't go there. And I don't think we have enough time today to finish up some of the remarks that I could make. But the memories are great. As background, we are what I will call pure Irish. We don't know our heritage as well. We kind of scrambled around to figure out where the next and next and next generations were from. And then I realized, you know, a lot of it is really the nuclear family that we have become and have always been. So although we are pure Irish, we are all Boston. We grew up, as a little bit of background, in a family of 10 in Watertown. Jerry was number 8, I was number 10, and the two of us could get lost really easily anytime that we wanted to. There were 5 boys, 5 girls, numerous cats and dogs, and stray individuals that roamed into the room. Life was joyful, it was chaotic, but it was an interesting upbringing, and Watertown was a great place to grow up. Character, academics, faith were stressed. Our parents were very strong on that. I will say that Jerry listened a lot more often than I did, but he didn't always listen. Our dad was a doctor. He practiced in the house. My mother was a nurse. She had to give that up, I think, after the 6th or 7th child. He also cared, as part of his practice, for the Jesuit seminarians out at Weston, where Jerry learned to skate, along with frozen tennis courts in Watertown. There were a few rinks around, but not like there are today. And Dominican sisters, and the priests and the nuns you'd come home from school wanting to get away from Latin, and there would be a priest sitting at the dining room table ready to pull out a lesson in how to get through today, what happened today. Nuns would be in the house in full habit, so it was an exciting household. Jerry and I went to parochial school, as did all my siblings, all 10 of us, on to Catholic high schools, Catholic colleges. Jerry and I were lucky enough to go to BC High and receive the education both in the classroom and from the kids from Southie and Dorchester that we met along the way, and a few from Hyde Park. The presence that they had in our life was strong. Following BC, Jerry journeyed into coaching. Part of that, and more importantly, was that not only did he coach, but he mentored and taught thousands of student athletes, the people that worked with him, those that surrounded him. And that's what, if I was most proud of anything with Jerry, with all the accolades he's won, is his mission to mentor and educate. And these student athletes went in there as young men and young women and came out with a mission in life and trying to be, as BC would say, men for others. Jerry also won a number of accolades along the way. He climbed a lot of mountains and brought folks with him. Personally, I think he did pretty well. So if I may, I'd like to introduce my big brother, my much, much older brother, Jerry, who, by the way, do I take that? Yeah, you take that. How is this going to work? Thank you. Jerry just gave this to me, so I will hang it right up front in my dining room. Thank you.
I'd be amiss if I didn't compliment TT on a selection of ties. I mean, it's an Irish steak. Gee. You know, part of Ed Forey's job for the day is to be a head coach. And one of the most important parts of being a head coach, especially when you play, and I have a BU guy at my table, it's hard. But so when you're preparing for a BU, or Billy Cleary's here with the Harvard team, you know, what are your lines going to be? And I think Ed went to the bullpen and sat down and said, all right, what is it going to be? All right, so he's come up with John, Mary, and Jerry. And I kind of like that line. I think it's, I'm awfully glad to join this. So again, compliments to John and Mary for all you've done to keep this Irish heritage alive, and maybe we'll score the first goal here. I'd like to talk a little bit about my background. Bill talked a little more eloquently than I will speak about it, but it was fun to be part of a group of 10. But I think when you think about Ann was my oldest sister, there was 19 years difference between my oldest sister Ann and my youngest brother Bill. So we got 10 within 19 years. It was incredible life learning at the supper table. Milk was spilt, those doorbells are ringing, everything's going on. But I think the best thing my dad did was send me to BC High. And the best thing about BC High, and Grace Regan is here, I think she still stayed. Where are you, Grace? my JV baseball coach was Jim Carter. Now, I thought, I'm going to be the next Don Budden. I was like, but once the ball started curving, I couldn't. But every day after practice, Jim would say, fellas, gather around. They'd gather around and says, do the next right thing. And, you know, I've kind of lived with that. It's been kind of my, you know, one of my value systems, so important. And Jim, Savin Hill guy, BC High history teacher. I never forget the first class with Jim. He just read from the book, you know. And then after Chappie, he said, all right, first person on the line here, Yorkie, you read the next chapter. Right down the book here. So that was teaching way back then. He couldn't wait to get coaching. And, you know, I'd like to just leave you with a story, a good Irish story here. A group of my friends, 8 of us, went over to Kinsale this last July to play golf and just have a great time. And, you know, I'm not much of a drinker, but I said, you know, when I get there, after that first round, I'm going to have a pint of Guinness. And I'm just going to really enjoy it. And because, you know, in Ireland, Guinness is the drink. So we play Old Head. I must have shot 150 or whatever. But it didn't matter. I was with good company. And so we get to the restaurant in Kinsale, and the waitress comes out and says, all right, what will we start with? I say, all right, I raise my hand. I'd like a pint of Guinness, please. And she looked at me with these steely eyes, you know, and she said, young man. I look behind me, you know. She said, young man, this is County Cork, and we only drink Murphy's. So I says, all right. So the moral of the story is when you're in Watertown, Duncan. I know I have 4 minutes, and Ed said stay with it, and Bill passed his 3 minutes. So, hey, enjoy the afternoon, and I'm greatly honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge our good friend, Senator Nick Collins, who is here. Thank you for joining us, Senator. And Maureen, do we know who was sent into Ireland? Representative Dan Hunt is asking to be acknowledged for the second time because he didn't pay attention the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Dan Hunt. Would you like to come up and say a couple of words?
Thanks, everybody.
All right, well, before I get to the drawing, I do want to thank all of our honorees today, your inspiring stories. I want to thank all of our past honorees who are here. I want to thank all of our sponsors. We have some absolutely amazing friends in the room with us today who are supporting us, and it means the world to us. So, having said all that, I'm going to draw 2 names for a pair of tickets. Drum roll. Jake Doonan. Are you here? All right. Number 1, okay, and now for number 2. Phil Carver. We're going to do photos, gentlemen. We're going to do photos at the side with our airlines when you have a moment. So thank you, everybody.
And once again, as is tradition, we'd like to close with a prayer, but we do want to thank our Emerald sponsors, Aer Lingus and Delta Airlines. Nice round of applause for them, if you would. And all the way from BC, Monsignor Liam Bergen, could you come on, Bergen, excuse me, can you come on up and lead us in prayer? My former pastor at St. Bridget's Parish in South Boston. Give it up for Monsignor Liam.
My friends, I became a citizen of this great country just a month ago, and I was expecting it to be a bureaucratic move, but it was a very beautiful, moving ceremony, and we celebrated it as part of the Vietnam Memorial commemoration in South Boston. So I thought when I took the oath that my accent would go, and clearly I was right. I'm constantly asked in South Boston where I'm from, and when I say I'm from County Laois, everybody just glosses over. Everybody knows Cork and Kerry, Donegal, Mayo and Galway, and all those other savage places. But I am from the very centre, the dead centre of Ireland. There is a story about a man from Kerry who went for his first flying lesson. It was a small two-passenger plane. And just as it took off, the instructor had a seizure and passed out. So the man got very panicked, came on the radio, and he said, "Mayday, mayday, the pilot is down." And this very comforting voice from County Laois came on the radio, and it said, you're okay, we'll sort this out." And of course, he came back and said, "Are you feeling okay?" "I'm fine." "Okay, I want you to tell us your height and your position." And he said, "I'm 5'10" and I'm in the front. The Laois voice came back and said, "Repeat after me. Our Father." Lord God, we give you thanks. We are honored in honoring as we celebrate these three wonderful people. We give thanks for generosity of life and example. I hear na banig shing. Thank God for this food. Thank God for our heritage. Thank God for this wonderful city. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. We hope you had a good time. On my right-hand side, please, family, friends of the honorees, come on over some photos, and we'll see you next year. Congratulations, everybody.